My brother declared me dead and stole my inheritance for 2 years. But when my corpse appeared at my mom's wedding, I destroyed his life and sent him to prison for 15 years. I'm 30 years old. I work making digital maps for scientific projects, and I still can't believe that my own brother, the guy I grew up sharing a room with and playing video games with until 3 in the morning, literally killed me. Well, he didn't actually kill me, obviously, because here I am telling this, but he declared me dead, forged a death certificate, stole my entire life, and convinced my mother that I had died in a car accident in Iceland. And the thing is, he almost got away with it. Because I was in the middle of nowhere in Iceland, without decent internet or any way of knowing what was happening back home. I should start at the beginning, I guess. Like 3.5 years ago, I got this incredible job. I mean, it was basically my dream job. Mapping remote regions of Iceland for an environmental conservation project. The only problem was that I was going to be in literally the most isolated part of the country, at a research station where the internet was horrible and only worked like twice a week if you were lucky. But they paid really well. It was an incredible experience for my career, and honestly, at that time, I was going through a pretty bad breakup with my girlfriend Diana, so the idea of disappearing to the other side of the world for a while sounded perfect. Before leaving, I had to arrange a bunch of things. You know, who was going to pay my bills, what to do with my house, that kind of stuff. My brother Tristan, who's 2 years older than me, offered to help me. We had always been close, or so I thought. When we were kids, he defended me from bullies at school, helped me get my first job, came to all my graduations. So, when he told me, hey, give me power of attorney, and I'll take care of everything while you're away, I didn't think twice. I signed all the papers he put in front of me at our family lawyer Wallace's office, a guy we'd known forever because he was also my dad's friend before he died. The truth is, my dad had passed away like 6 years before, and he had left a decent inheritance to Tristan and me. I still hadn't touched my part because I had it invested, and plus I had my house paid off and good savings. I wasn't a millionaire or anything, but I was doing well financially, you know what I mean? So I trusted Tristan completely to handle all of that while I was in Iceland doing my job. The first months in Iceland were brutal. I'm not going to lie. The weather was crazy. There were days where you barely saw the sun, and the loneliness was heavy. But the work was fascinating, and my colleagues at the station were cool. I sent emails when I could, maybe once or twice a month, and talked on the phone with my mom every now and then, though the calls cost a fortune and the connection was terrible. Tristan sent me occasional updates, like everything's fine. I paid your bills. Your house is perfect. Don't worry about anything. My mom also wrote to me sometimes, telling me things about the family. By like that, in this weird routine where I was basically disconnected from the world, and here comes the part that still feels like a movie to me. My camera broke, an expensive professional camera I needed for work, and I had to go to Reykjavik, which was the closest city, like 8 hours away, to buy a new one. I got to a decent hotel that had real Wi-Fi, not that prehistoric thing we had at the station, and I connected to check emails and social media after months without doing it. And there it was, on my mom's page, a picture of me in black and white with candles and flowers around it. The post said something like, 2 years since we lost our beautiful Gavin. We miss you every day. There were like 200 comments from people giving their condolences, saying things like, what a terrible tragedy, and so young. I just stared at the screen, unable to process what I was seeing. I thought it was a mistake, that maybe there was another person with my name, but no. It was my photo, from my college graduation. I started searching like crazy on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, and found more things. My brother had posted like 2 years ago a photo of me with a long text about how I had died in a car accident in Iceland, how they were devastated, how they were going to have a funeral. There were photos of an actual funeral, with a closed casket and everything, with my mom crying and a bunch of people I knew. I literally felt like I was going to pass out right there in the hotel lobby. My heart was beating so fast, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I tried to call my mom immediately, but she didn't answer. I called Tristan, and his number was disconnected. Then I remembered Carter, my best friend from college, and I called him on WhatsApp. When he answered and heard my voice, he went silent for like 10 seconds, and then said, Gavin? Is that you? Is it really you? I told him obviously it was me. What the hell was going on? And he told me everything. Tristan had told everyone that I had had a fatal accident on an Icelandic highway, that my body had been cremated there because transporting it was too expensive and complicated, and that they had held a memorial service with my ashes. Carter told me that everyone had gone to the funeral, that it had been super emotional, that my mom was destroyed. He told me that Tristan had handled everything because my mom was too devastated to do it. And then Carter asked me, "Where the hell have you been these 2 years? I tried to contact you a million times after you supposedly died because something didn't add up, but you never responded." I explained about the horrible internet and how isolated I was, and he told me, "Man, you need to get home now, because something very shady is going on." I started investigating more and discovered that my house that I had bought and paid for completely, had been sold like a year and a half ago. The bank accounts I could access from Iceland were empty. I tried calling my bank, and they told me those accounts had been closed by the power of attorney holder after my death. I felt like the floor was opening up beneath me. Everything I discovered was worse than the last. And then I found something that made me completely explode. My mom was getting married in 2 weeks. There were posts about her engagement to a guy named Philip, photos from the bachelorette party, everything. She was getting married literally in 15 days, and I was supposedly dead. I couldn't process the idea that my mom was moving on with her life thinking I was dead, that she was going to walk down the aisle without knowing her son was alive. I bought a plane ticket for that same day. I didn't even tell my boss at the station, just left a note saying I had a family emergency. The trip back was a nightmare, like 20 hours between flights and connections, and the whole time I couldn't stop thinking about Tristan. Why would he do something like this? What had he done with my money? Where was my mom living now? How was I going to explain to her that her son wasn't dead? I arrived in my city one day before the wedding. I went straight to my mom's house, or where I thought she still lived, but there were different people there. They told me the lady who lived there before had moved like a year ago. I had to go to a hotel, and from there I kept investigating. I found the address of the church where the wedding was going to be, and I decided I was going to show up there. I know it sounds dramatic, like in the movies, but I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to call her on the phone and give her a heart attack, but I also couldn't let her get married thinking I was dead. On the wedding day, I got to the church and stayed outside for like an hour, trying to decide what to do. I could hear the music, see people arriving all dressed up. At one point, I saw Tristan going in with his wife, Monica, and his daughter, Hazel, who was like 10 years old, and I felt my blood boil. He looked so normal, so calm, greeting people and smiling. I wanted to run toward him and hit him until he explained everything to me, but I held back. I waited until the ceremony started. I went in through the back door and stood there until the pastor said that thing about, "If anyone has any reason why these two should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace." I walked down the center aisle and said, "I have a reason." The whole church turned to look at me, and my mom looked at me like she was seeing a ghost. She literally turned pale and started shaking. I walked up to her and said, "Hi, Mom. Sorry I'm late." She fainted right there, fell to the floor, and they had to call paramedics. It was absolute chaos. People screaming, crying, the pastor not knowing what to do. I saw Tristan trying to leave through a side door, but Carter, who was there as a guest, grabbed him and said, "Don't you dare move." Philip, my mom's fiancé, turned out to be an incredible guy because, instead of getting angry about the scene, he stayed there helping my mom while the paramedics attended to her. When my mom came to, she looked at me and touched my face like she couldn't believe it was real. She kept saying, "But you died. We lost you. How is this possible? I don't understand." I told her I had a lot to explain, but that I was alive. That I had always been alive. That there was never any accident. And then I pointed at Tristan and told her, "Ask him what happened. Ask him what he did." What came after were months of investigations, lawyers, police, everything was a mess. It turns out Wallace, our family lawyer, had helped Tristan forge the death certificate. They had paid someone in Iceland to create fake documents, saying I had died in an accident. With those documents, and the power of attorney, Tristan basically had total control over everything that was mine. The magnitude of the fraud was incredible. Tristan had emptied all my bank accounts, sold my house for like $400,000, liquidated all my investments, which included part of my dad's inheritance that was worth millions. He had taken out loans in my name, had used my credit cards, had even collected on my life insurance. In total, he had stolen like $3.5 million during those 2 years. $3.5 million. And the worst part wasn't just the money. My mom told me that Tristan had asked her for $80,000 from her retirement savings to cover funeral expenses and the debts Gavin left behind. She had given him everything, thinking it was to honor my memory. She felt guilty for having moved from the house where we grew up, for having fallen in love with Philip, for moving on with her life. All that time she had felt terrible thinking her son was dead, and it turned out her other son had manipulated and robbed her while she mourned. Monica, Tristan's wife, was devastated when she found out about everything. She didn't know anything, or so she said, and honestly I believe her because when she found hidden documents in the garage that proved everything, she herself was the one who turned them over to the police and said she was going to cooperate completely and divorce Tristan. I felt really bad for her, and especially for Hazel, my niece, who didn't understand why her dad had done something so bad. The investigation kept revealing more things. Tristan had been sabotaging my life long before Iceland. They found emails where he had said horrible things about me to Deanna, my ex-girlfriend, pretending to be a concerned friend, telling her I was cheating on her, that I talked badly about her. Diana eventually contacted me after finding out about all this and showed me the messages. I felt sick. Tristan had destroyed my relationship because, as he later confessed, he was jealous that I had a pretty girlfriend and a good career when he was having problems in his marriage and had lost his job. He had also ruined job opportunities for me before. I remembered that like 5 years ago I had applied to some incredible jobs and they never called me, and now it made sense. Tristan had intercepted calls and emails pretending to be me, rejecting offers or saying inappropriate things so they wouldn't hire me. All because he was struggling with his own career and couldn't stand seeing me successful. The trial was long and horrible. Tristan was arrested and placed under house arrest while awaiting trial, but then the idiot cut off his ankle monitor and tried to escape. Monica called the police because she found he had emptied their joint account and had plans to flee the country. And worse yet, he was going to try to take Hazel without telling Monica anything. That added attempted kidnapping to his charges. They caught him trying to cross the border into Canada. He had fake documents, like $200,000 in cash, and was trying to access offshore accounts where he had hidden more money he stole. Philip, now my mom's husband, turned out to have connections from when he worked with the police, and that helped a lot in tracking everything down. The trial was brutal. Seeing my brother there, the guy I shared my entire childhood with, trying to justify what he did, saying he deserved the money more than me because I had always been luckier. I broke my heart in a way I can't describe. It wasn't just the betrayal of the money or the stolen identity. It was realizing that the person I thought I knew never really existed. For years, he had been carrying this resentment and jealousy toward me that I didn't even know existed. They found him guilty of fraud, identity theft, forgery of documents, attempted kidnapping, and like 1,000 other things. They gave him 25 years in prison with no possibility of parole for at least 15 years. Wallace, the lawyer, also went to prison for like 7 years for being an accomplice. They recovered most of the money, though not all, because Tristan had spent quite a bit on stupid things like luxury cars and trips. The recovered money was put in a trust, part for me and part for Hazel, because in the end she's innocent in all this, and shouldn't suffer more than she already suffered seeing her dad go to prison. Monica divorced Tristan and moved with Hazel to another state to start over. I keep in touch with them, especially with Hazel, because she's still my niece and none of this is her fault. My mom and I have been working on rebuilding our relationship. Philip is a genuinely good guy who supports her and has supported me too through this whole process. They finally got married like 6 months after all the drama, in a small, quiet ceremony where I could be there like I was supposed to be the first time. My mom still has nightmares about all this. She still wakes up sometimes thinking I'm dead. And she goes to therapy to process the trauma of thinking she lost one son and discovering the other son lied to her all that time. Deanna and I reconnected after everything. She apologized like 1,000 times for believing the things Tristan told her, and I explained to her it wasn't her fault, that Tristan was very manipulative. We started dating again like 6 months ago and things are going well. Slowly, but well. She says it feels like she recovered someone she thought she had lost forever. And honestly, I feel the same way. As for work, I lost the job in Iceland, obviously, but with everything that happened and the publicity of the case, several companies became interested in me. I ended up getting a better job here in the United States, so at least something good came out of all this. I also started a small foundation to help victims of financial fraud by family members, because it turns out this happens more often than people think, and there are very few resources for victims. Like 2 months ago, I went to visit Tristan in prison. I don't know why I did it. I guess I needed to close that chapter or something. He looked terrible. He had lost weight and looked much older than he is. He apologized to me, told me he was in therapy in prison, that now he understood that what he did was wrong. But the thing is, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel forgiveness. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sadness. I just felt empty. I told him I hoped he would use those 15 years to really think about what he did, and I left. I don't know if I'll see him again. Honestly, I don't know if I want to. Last week, my mom called me crying because she had found old photos of Tristan and me when we were kids, and she asked me where it all went wrong. At what moment did her son become someone capable of doing something so horrible? I told her I didn't know, that maybe we'd never know, but that what was important was that now we were here, alive, together, trying to heal. She told me that every day she's grateful that I'm alive, that she still sometimes can't believe you came back from the dead, literally. I guess in the end, the question I ask myself is whether I'll ever be able to trust anyone completely again. Tristan was my brother. He was the person I trusted most in the world after my mom, and he betrayed me in the worst way possible. He stole my identity, stole my money, stole 2 years of my life, and basically killed my mom emotionally by making her believe I was dead. How do you get over something like that? How do you trust again? Therapy helps, I guess. I go twice a week and I'm working on processing everything. My therapist says it's normal to feel this weird mix of relief at being alive and fury at what happened. She says that grief for the relationship I thought I had with my brother is valid, that it's like the version of Tristan I knew died, and in his place is this stranger who's capable of horrible things. Diana asked me the other day if I could ever forgive Tristan. And honestly, I don't know the answer. Part of me wants to say yes, that forgiveness is important for my own mental health. But another part of me feels like forgiving him would be like saying what he did is okay, and it's definitely not okay. Maybe someday, I don't know. For now, I'm just trying to live my life, rebuild what I lost, and be grateful that I was lucky enough that my camera broke that day in Iceland, because if not, I would have stayed there, not knowing I was officially dead. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had stayed in Iceland longer, if Tristan would have kept stealing more, if my mom would have gotten married without me ever showing up, if he eventually would have tried to pass himself off as me completely. It's chilling to think about the possibilities. Carter tells me to stop torturing myself with the what ifs, that what's important is that I'm here now, that the truth came to light, and that Tristan is paying for what he did. Hazel sent me a drawing last week of the two of us together smiling with a huge sun above. At the bottom she wrote, "Uncle Gavin, I'm glad you're not dead." It made me cry. I'm not going to lie. That girl didn't deserve any of this. None of us deserved it. But especially her. Her dad is going to be in prison probably until she's like 25. He's going to miss her entire adolescence, her graduation, maybe her wedding someday. And all for what? For money? For jealousy? But the truth is, I'm probably never going to fully understand why Tristan did what he did. I can hear his explanations and the psychologist's theories about narcissism and pathological envy, but at the end of the day, it was a choice. He chose to forge my death, chose to rob me, chose to manipulate our mom while she mourned for me. Those were conscious decisions he made over and over for 2 years. Philip told me something recently that stuck with me. He told me that sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones closest to us, because they're the only ones who have enough access to us to destroy us completely. He said, what's important isn't what Tristan did, but how I decide to move forward now. He's right. I guess I I can't change what happened, but I can decide not to let it define me forever. So here I am, 30 years old, officially alive again, according to the government, with a career under reconstruction, a reconnected relationship with my mom and with Diana, a small foundation trying to help others, and a brother in prison I'll probably never see as family again. Some days are okay, other days I wake up angry or sad or confused. But I'm here, I'm alive, and that has to count for something. My mom says I'm her miracle, that she got me back from the dead. Sometimes I feel guilty about all the pain she went through because of Tristan. Like somehow it was my responsibility to protect her from him. My therapist says that doesn't make sense, that I was the victim too, but the feeling is still there. I don't know how to end this story because it really hasn't ended yet. I'm still processing, I'm still healing. There are still days where everything feels surreal. But I guess if I have to take something from all this, it's that you never really know what someone is capable of doing, not even your own family. And that sometimes surviving isn't enough. You have to find a way to live after surviving. You know what I mean? I'm working on that, one day at a time.